You have to understand, that plant was built in 1949. It was built at the time that New Albany had one small garment plant. It was very small. It employed just a few women at minimum wage jobs. And then Governor Hugh White and the legislature passed what's known as the BAWI, Balanced Agriculture with Industry. Mr. Futorian had a small upholstery operation over a drugstore in Chicago, real small. And he had a dream of making furniture on the assembly line. And finally he was able to get the financing through government bonds and came down and built the plant. And it was the first time that men had an opportunity to work outside of a blacksmith or retail or something like that, because there just wasn't any jobs. And you had to know somebody on the board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors did all the screening the first few years. If you wanted to get a job there, you went through the board of supervisors. 1967, fall.
And you came to work at Futorian?
I came as a plant engineer.
Okay.
And then about 18 months later, I was promoted to production manager, and about a year later, I was general manager. It was 23 acres under roof. It was the largest upholstery plant in the world. We had about 1,100 plus employees. We had a budget in those days of in excess of $100 million. And we shipped all over the United States and to Canada. And occasionally we'd have some foreign contract, but mostly it was the United States and Canada. And it was just a lot of good, hard-working people, a lot of long service people. And because it was one of the few places that men could work, I mean, even in those days.
Was the plant integrated when you started? Were there
Yes.
black and white workers?
Yes, it was integrated.
Was that something that was fairly recent?
Yes, it was fairly recent. It had not been integrated that long, but it was totally open, and we had blacks and whites in all positions. And in fact, I made the first black supervisor after I became general manager, and all of his employees were white, and we never had any problems.
That's what I was going to say. Was there ever any racial conflict or tension?
Not really. There really wasn't. The people we had, we screened pretty good before we hired. And we just didn't have a lot of racial problems in the plant, yes. We probably had, out of 1,100, I'm going to say probably 550 or 600 were women, and the remainder were men. Because we had a large sewing room, and then women worked in almost every department, so they would probably outnumbered men slightly, but not much.